It was 7:42 p.m. on a quiet Thursday evening in suburban Minnesota when 27-year-old Claire Holloway, a freelance graphic designer known for her reclusive lifestyle and love for 70s jazz, opened her front door to an unexpected knock and was never seen again. The porch light was on, the tea on her kitchen counter still steaming, and her cat meowing restlessly near the window as if sensing something unnatural had just occurred. Claire wasn't the type to receive surprise visitors. According to her neighbor, an elderly woman named Mrs. Brennan, no one had been to Claire's house in months except for the delivery man from the local grocery store. What baffled detectives was the sheer lack of struggle. No signs of forced entry, no sounds reported, no security footage from nearby homes, despite the fact that Claire's street had 3 doorbell cameras. All 3 had inexplicably gone blank from 7:41 p.m. to 7:45 p.m., just a 4-minute blackout. Claire's phone was left on her couch, her wallet still in her bedroom drawer, and the only unusual detail was a small handmade envelope left on her welcome mat. It had no stamp, no address, just her name, handwritten in looping cursive, Claire. Inside, a single Polaroid photo of a forest clearing, a rusted red bicycle leaning against a tree, and in the corner of the photo, nearly hidden by shadow, the silhouette of a figure wearing what looked like a rabbit mask. No note, no explanation. When the image was enhanced, it revealed GPS coordinates faintly scratched into the back corner of the bike in the photo. The location pointed to a disused campground 63 miles north, closed since 1998 after a camper was mauled to death in a suspected animal attack, though no animal was ever confirmed. Authorities visited the site and found no bicycle, but they did find what looked like a large dark red tarp buried beneath the leaves near the tree in the photo. Underneath was a hollowed-out space filled with broken cassette tapes, faded photographs of various women, and a torn piece of Claire's favorite hoodie. Her family confirmed it by the custom patch she'd sewn herself. But the most disturbing find was an audio tape marked 8, which contained a garbled recording of a woman crying, whispering the words, "Don't answer, don't answer. The knock is never for you," followed by what sounded like distorted breathing and metallic scraping. Forensics tried to clean up the audio, but found it had been recorded using outdated equipment, the kind popular in the 1980s. Over the next few weeks, strange details emerged. 3 other women had gone missing over the past 12 years across 3 neighboring states. Same time of year, same age range, and in each case, the last known interaction was someone knocking at their door. One woman, Julia Mercer, had even written in her diary 3 days before her disappearance, "I keep hearing knocking. No one's ever there. I think it's a game. Or a test. I don't want to fail." She vanished on October 17th, 2014. Claire disappeared on October 17th, 2023, exactly 9 years later to the minute. Investigators began compiling connections and noticed that in each missing woman's home, an identical photograph had been left behind, each one showing the same red bicycle, same tree, same rabbit-masked figure. No records existed of such a bicycle being manufactured, and the tree in question was identified by a retired forest ranger as one that had been chopped down in 2001 after being struck by lightning. Which begged the question, how were current photos of a tree that no longer existed showing up at active crime scenes? Psychologists were brought in to analyze the possibility of mass delusion or suggestion, but the photos were proven to be physical objects, aged and weathered, not digitally created. A pattern began to take shape. Every woman who had disappeared had once lived within 5 miles of a psychiatric hospital that had been closed in 1992 after a fire consumed the East Wing, killing 23 patients, none of whom were ever publicly identified due to lost records. Claire's childhood home was 3.2 miles from that hospital. Digging through archived news footage, a young girl with a toy rabbit could be seen being carried out of the burning building, wrapped in a red blanket. Her name was never revealed, but her face bore a striking resemblance to a child photo of Claire, though her family denied any connection. In the days following Claire's disappearance, her laptop received 3 encrypted emails from an address that had never existed before and stopped existing after sending them. The messages were simple. The first read, "You opened it." The second, "Now you see." The third had no text, just a file attachment, a distorted audio file with reversed speech. When played backward, it whispered, "She chose the door. She always chooses the door." Investigators were left grasping at symbols and connections that made less sense the deeper they looked. A linguist hired to study the handwriting on the envelope identified it as matching the style used in anonymous letters mailed to a cold case unit in 2004, referencing the cycle of sevens, a supposed pattern of disappearances that occurred every 7 years, always in October, always women aged 25-30. Claire was 27. Julia was 27. The woman in 2007 was 26. The first known case dated back to 1972. The victim, a 29-year-old teacher from Illinois, who had reported being followed by someone wearing a white animal mask in the weeks before she vanished. Her name was Elise Morrow. Her sister had kept a shoebox of her belongings, including one final postcard Elise had received days before her disappearance. The image on the front, a red bicycle leaning against a tree. The FBI created a timeline and built a case file codenamed Project Hollow, based on Claire's last name. But just as progress seemed to be building, the lead agent on the case, Melissa Grant, vanished on her way home from the bureau. Her car was found idling at a green light, driver's side door open, engine running. In the passenger seat was a file folder containing the Project Hollow case summary and a note reading, "You look too long." Inside the folder, a new photo, different this time. It showed Agent Grant, seated in a chair, eyes closed, and behind her, the unmistakable blur of the rabbit mask figure, just at the edge of focus. Panic set in among the investigation team. One by one, they began requesting transfers, resigning, or simply disappearing without notice. By January 2024, the case had been unofficially closed. Claire Holloway was declared legally dead, her family left with no body, no answers, and a single Polaroid of a bicycle leaning against a tree that no longer existed, haunted by the knock no one ever hears coming. The weeks following the quiet closure of Project Hollow brought with them a strange and unsettling calm, as if the story of Claire Holloway and the others had been forcibly buried under silence by something more powerful than bureaucracy or fear. It was as though the case itself had become a contagion, spreading doubt, paranoia, and hallucinations among those who dared to look too closely. A freelance archivist named Noah Emery, who had been contracted by a private research firm in Chicago to digitize and organize public records from the defunct Danvers Psychiatric Hospital archives, stumbled upon a sealed metal box labeled only with a single embossed number, 77. The lock was rusted, the label faded, but what lay inside would reignite a fire no one was prepared to face. Among the contents were dozens of hand-typed patient evaluations, dozens of black and white photos of girls between the ages of 6 and 10, and a crumbling ledger bearing the name Dr. L. A. Wyndham, a psychiatrist expelled from the New England Psychological Association in 1971 after being accused of using patients as spiritual vessels in an experiment he referred to as the listening room. One patient's name appeared 17 times across the files, Elise Morrow. Next to her name, scribbled in red ink, were the words, Phase 1 completed, subject exhibits door behavior. The phrase, door behavior, would appear over and over across pages, always in connection to episodes of patients claiming they heard knocking when there wasn't any, or dreamed of being told to choose a door, but not allowed to see what's behind it. One photo showed a young Elise standing beside a broken wooden door with the same circle with a line symbol carved into it, the same mark that had appeared on Claire Holloway's forehead in the photograph sent to her parents. As Noah continued digging, he found one final envelope at the bottom of the box, addressed to no one. Inside was a cassette labeled D4R. Playing it required a vintage player, which he had to borrow from a university media lab. The audio was disturbing not just for what it contained, an endless looping chant of numbers, names, and seemingly random words, but because in the background was the clear sound of a typewriter typing on its own, and a voice muttering, "They knock and knock and knock until you forget who you are." The voice matched a fragment from the last audio sent to Claire's family. Noah contacted the Bureau's cold case digital unit, but within 2 days he reported a break-in at his apartment. Nothing was stolen except the tape and the box. When police reviewed building security footage, Noah could be seen leaving his apartment in the early hours, eyes glazed, no shoes, carrying nothing but the box and tape. He walked out into the snow and vanished from sight. Later that week, an identical photo of the red bicycle and masked figure was found at the university library, inside the returned slot of a book that hadn't been checked out since 1985. The book's title, Doors That Shouldn't Be Opened. Word began to spread online, through hidden Reddit threads and conspiracy forums. Some claimed the rabbit-masked figure was a government experiment,